Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Austin Alves, and I'm going to be interviewing people to learn about different careers and how to live a meaningful and fulfilling life. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get started. So, do you think you could just do a quick um, background summary of like who you are, your job, your life story, if you will, for the interview?
Okay, so my name is Kimberly Andrew. I'm not sure how far you want me to go back, but I'm from Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is, I would say, about 45 minutes east of Cerritos. I graduated from Rancho Cucamonga High School. And from high school, I wasn't really given the option of what to do next. My parents said, "You're going to college, kid." I wanted to go to community college because I was like, it's safe, it's close to home, I don't wanna leave home, but, my parents said, "Yeah, no, you're leaving, you need to grow up, you need to experience life." So, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, so I asked my counselor in high school, I said, "What schools are great for to be a teacher that are not far from home?" And she said, "Well, Cal State, San Bernardino, and Cal State Long Beach, and there was one other and I don't remember." I think it was, like, University of Laverne. So I said, "Oh, I wanna go to Laverne because my dad went to school there." But Long Beach, that's where, like, my cousins all live in that direction, and it's far enough from home, but close enough from home, and then at that time, Long Beach was, like, one of the number 1 schools for people who wanted to be teachers or major in liberal studies, to attend. So I applied, got in, and was like, "Oh, no. I'm going to college. I'm gonna where am I gonna stay?" My parents said, "You're staying in the dorms." I wanted to stay at my grandmother's house because she lived that direction. And they said, "No, you need to again experience life on your own." So packed up, moved to Long Beach, lived in the dorms for a couple years, loved my roommate. We got an apartment. Eventually she moved back to San Diego and I eventually stayed there, becoming a waitress at Disneyland, then at CPK, got my teaching credential, and then I started my teaching career in Long Beach Unified. Um, I started my teaching career in Long Beach Unified, I believe, in 2003, as a student teacher. Then at the same school, they enjoyed what I did, and I guess I did a pretty good job. They offered me a full time position teaching third grade. I was at that school was Emerson Parkside Academy. At the time, it was a charter school across the street from Millikan High School in Long Beach. I was there for 7 years, 8 years, until I was pink slip, which means they were reducing teachers because they didn't have enough money to pay for teachers. So I was then bounced around to a couple other schools in Long Beach Unified, from Burbank to Keller to Bixby. From there, I ended up getting let go altogether because again, I think we were going through a recession and whatnot, and they said, We don't have the money for you." So I left and I went to opportunities for learning, where they did academic recovery. So that was for middle school and high school students. So I dealt with students that were just the traditional comprehensive high school wasn't for them. Whether they had home life issues, whether they were pregnant, on and off drugs, but then also had kids that were in the Olympics. They were Olympians, so they needed to get their classes and take it on the road with them. I had students that were actors, people that wanted to go to Juilliard, so they needed to get out of high school quickly. So I had both ends of the rainbow, the spectrum of the rainbow. I enjoyed my time there. I was there for 3 years, as a teacher through 7th through 12th grade. And then one day I was proposed an opportunity to come to ABC Unified. The only school I ever knew about was Mary Bragg Elementary because I did some tutoring for some kids in that area. And lo and behold, I interviewed for the district, and the school that called me was Mary Bragg Elementary. And I said, I can't believe it. I almost like manifested. It was right off the freeway. It was close to my home. I taught there. Um, I was there for, I believe, 7 years, I think. Um, and at my time there, I think my third year there, the principal at the time, asked me if I'd like to be her assistant principal. So I think it was the end of my third year, going in my fourth year there, I believe. I became assistant to the principal over at Mary Bragg. From there, I did some principalships for elementary school and middle school, and I fell in love with the idea of being an administrator. I should roll back a little bit. When I was in Long Beach Unified, I was given the opportunity to go to UCLA to get my administrative credential. So every day at school ended at 3 o'clock. I would jump in my car, drive to UCLA 2 to 3 times a week, take my studies from 4:30 till 10:30 at night, drive back home, get ready to teach my class the next day, and do it all over again. Fast forwarding back to where I'm now, there were some people in the school district that said, it's time, Kimberly, it's time for you to come out of the classroom and be an administrator, but we want you to go to secondary because we think you'd be great as an administrator. You connect with the students, you make good connections with the kids, they trust you, come to secondary. So I was given the opportunity to interview with Cerritos High School in Whitney, and I was lucky enough to get a chance to be the dean of students at Whitney High School. And that is where I am now.
Hmm. You said that you sort of always knew that you wanted to become a teacher. Was there like a certain point where this became true? Or like, why why a teacher?
My dad was a teacher. My grandfather was a teacher. Um, my grandmother's father was a teacher. Her brother was a teacher. So I was around teachers all the time. But I
Hmm.
always was in love with like papers and pencils and telling people what to do. um, I used to like line my dolls up and my Barbies up and make my brother play school with me.
Hmm.
I used to go to my dad's classroom all the time. He too became an administrator, a superintendent. So I kind of am falling in his footsteps, but I don't want to be a superintendent. That's too stressful. I like being a mom at home in the evenings, but I kind of always knew that I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was very little because I was always around teachers and I just loved helping kids. I helped helping students. I was really never thought I'd ever leave elementary because I just liked that age, the innocence of it all. But once I was given the opportunity to be a principal for summer school for middle school, I found a different love for what I do in education and inspiring students to do better.
Hmm. What would you say is the most important thing you learned during your time as a teacher?
Patience, empathy, um, yeah, I would say patience and empathy because everybody, having a classroom when I first started teaching, I had 17 kids in my class. And that was beautiful because if one or two kids were absent, I mean, I got 15 kids in the class. I can in small groups, we're getting things done, but everybody had a story. And as I went through my time of being a teacher, and the most students I've ever had is 33 students, I made it so happen. And every kid still had a story, but it made it more difficult to teach at times. But I'm sorry, what was your question again? I was gonna go a whole different direction. Sorry.
The question was, what was your most important lesson from being a teacher?
Oh yes, that's what it was. So going from a small classroom and having empathy and getting to know the students, I realize that everybody has a story and everybody leaves my classroom every day to go home to their daily lives. And they come back and school is, for many of them, their sanctuary. And what I mean by that is they know they have a warm classroom to go to. They know there's going to be lunch at school. If there may be a snack. They know that I'm going to be in the classroom every day, welcoming them back in class. And I'm a consistent factor in them because there's some kids I had over time that parents worked overnight. They didn't get to see their parents during the day, but they knew there was one thing they knew was consistent in their life, that Miss Sandra was always going to be there that next day to welcome them in class.
Mhm. Can you talk a little bit more about the experience that you mentioned when you worked with students not in the particular sort of normal high school life? You mentioned like the two ends of the different spectrum.
Oh, the academic recovery.
Mm-hmm.
That was difficult for me because I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. Everybody was in a huge home and beautiful yards, and everybody, it was kind of cookie cutter in a sense. We had issues, right, at my school, but if people got pregnant or did bad things or questionable things, they were kind of swept away and they were taken to another school or they were hidden per se. So when I went to this school, it was an eye opener for me. I had never seen, as old as I was, I think I was about, when I worked at Opportunities for Learning, I think I was about 29 maybe. Um, I had never really seen someone come to school pregnant. I had never had to talk to officers about someone's criminal record, right? I never had an Olympian in my class that was like, okay, the Summer Olympics are coming, Miss Andrew. I need all my work. I gotta go. Um, it was very eye-opening to see again, everybody has a story, everyone comes to school with whatever their dynamic is at home, whatever their dwelling is or what they're going through. Again, the consistent factor is their teacher's going to be on the other end of that door every day, um, ready to welcome them.
Mhm. Now, can you describe your sort of transition from um, being a teacher in the classroom to more of an administrator? Like, what are some of the differences between those, and what do you enjoy about each?
I will tell you, I miss the classroom terribly every single day. And again, I'm 3 years out of the classroom full time. Um, but there are many days that I wish I could just go to my classroom, close the door, and teach a lesson or just say, let's talk. What's going on? Um, and in that, I miss having that again, open that door every day and seeing those smiling faces and knowing that I have them for 170 days of the school year and I make a difference in their life every day. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, that energy is like showing them every day in the classroom. That ooh, is she having a good day today? Or oh, Miss Andrews, a happy day. We're gonna we're gonna have a good time in class today. Or you know what, you guys, the end of the year test is coming. We need to get this done quickly. You need to understand. You need to understand this and understand this now. Whereas that part of teaching was so much fun, but there's the emotional piece of all the baggage that most students don't realize that there's 30 different personalities in the room, and I have to navigate how to teach each and every one of those students differently. It may seem like I'm teaching everybody the same thing, but everybody learns a different way. That is what I miss the most. As an administrator, I get to use what I've learned in the classroom and in a bigger spectrum. I'm no longer in that classroom in those four walls, or at Bragg, I think we hit 5 or 6 walls. Um, I'm now able to expand my experiences further beyond the classroom, on classroom walls. I'm helping teachers, I'm helping parents navigate their child's middle school and high school life. Um, I'm helping other staff members on campus navigate what it looks like to day in and day out operations of the high school and middle school life. I truly enjoy my time as a dean, um, because I get to work with more children, not just the 30 or 35 in the classroom. I'm working with over 1,000 kids a day. Um, because I'm interacting as I'm going down the hall, I'm interacting as they're coming in the office. And there's just some kids that come see me every day and they're like, I just got to pass and go to the nurse, but I wanted to come sit and talk to you for a minute. And that's what I love. They just want to say, I just want to take a load off real quick, Miss Andrew. I just want to talk real quick. How's your day going?
Mhm.
And I get to work with my assistant principal and my principal. They're sort of mentors to me in the sense that they're teaching me, they've already been where I've been, and they're teaching me of the other side of administration. It can get taxing, um, and tiring because what I've learned in the last 3 years, my schedule really isn't my schedule. I can build a schedule for the day, like I'm gonna hit X, Y, and Z for today. I need to get those things done. But if something goes wrong at school or somebody needs me or there's a concern, I need to push my schedule to the side and attend to the students because I call myself, I'm the dean of students, not the dean of teachers, not the dean of parents. Although I'm there to support them,
Mhm.
I'm there for students. And if I'm in the middle of something, but a student needs me too, I'm going to choose a student before my own self schedule.
Have you ever had experience or considered teaching teaching in the classroom in the secondary environment versus in elementary?
I did when I taught at USC for the summer, or like on the weekends at a STEM academy. I started at Long Beach State that's doing the same thing, but it's just been like small science classes that I've taught. Again, I never thought I'd go to secondary to teach. When I was with Opportunities for Learning, I did teach, but it was more small group instruction. So I wouldn't say it was more of a traditional setting, but I never thought in a million years I'd ever go to secondary. It was just scary to me. I'm like, ooh, those kids got mouths on them. They've got opinions. Whereas little kids have opinions too, but they're easily um to mold and inspire and encourage because they haven't had other, many bumps in the road other than you can't
Mhm,
use your iPad tonight. You got to do your homework, you know?
mhm,
Uh, so yeah.
mhm. This is gonna be my next question. It's gonna be different. It's kind of different for everybody. Some people, um, it's a yes, but for others, it may be a no. But have you ever considered doing anything besides teaching or education as a career?
You know what? If I could, well, I shouldn't say if I could, because I guess I could still do it. I love production. I do. I love production. And when I was in Long Beach Unified, I used to put on the school talent shows, and they started from like a small little talent show at the school to we made a huge production with over like, I don't know, 30, 40 acts in a 2 hour show, intermission. I mean, sellout crowd, a huge auditorium at Millikan High School. I loved doing stage production. I also enjoy performing if you ever see me out in the at the rallies or whatnot. I enjoy it. I love dancing. I don't sing very well, but I kind of act like I can. But if I were to choose anything else, any other profession, it would be to be in production, like directing or producing. But then again, that's what I do now, right? As an administrator, we're producing a school every day. I'm directing a school every day. I
Hmm.
kind of see that as a like a leadership thing. I've always been that way as a kid. I made my brother play school with me. We made videos, home videos. I made him eat a mud pie and I tried to film him eating the mud pie. I've always been in type of roles that it's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. And I pump everybody up. Okay, let's shoot the video. So it's always been something that I just my family says I'm bossy. I just say I'm a leader. I like leading and directing and it's fun. But also has a bad I won't say bad, it also has its taxing moments where you get just tired. But yeah, if I would do anything, I'd be in production.
A light question for the next one. What's a fun memory that you have of your time being a teacher?
Oh my gosh. I just this is the one that comes to mind because I think my kids were just talking about the other day. And I don't remember if you were in my class this year. Forgive me if you weren't. When I took the kids, and I've done this twice, once in the school district and once when I was in Long Beach Unified, when we walked over to watch Wonder at the movie theater,
Ooh, yeah. Hmm.
something about that time, the fact that your parents trusted me to walk 32 kids over to the movie theater. We walked from school over to walked through the mall, went in, got our popcorn, did and we read the book first, and then we walked over, and we were like a little family, and it was just us. I could have invited the other classes. In fact, I think I did in the last minute, but um, that was one of my most memorable. My other was to going to sixth grade camp. Um, I really, again, it was the year of COVID. So I think we went in 2019, like in November. That was very memorable because Miss Andrew is not a wilderness person. And I think everybody had like a backpack, their sleeping bag, and maybe one other like bag. Miss Andrew had 2 or 3 suitcases, a backpack. They're like, where are you going? You're only going there for 3 days. I needed to be prepared. So that was one of my most memorable. But I would say that tops what the first thing comes to mind is when I was able to we were able to read up that the book Wonder in class, and I was able to walk my kids over to the movie theater and enjoy watching the book come to life and watching the joy of the kids in the classroom. I just would look down the aisles and watch all your faces and say, oh, this is so nice. Because it's not something you would typically get to do in an elementary school setting. I did
Hmm.
it for Charlotte's Web too when it came out years ago with my Long Beach Unified class. But that time, parents, we all caravan during the day over to the movie theater.
Hmm.
So fun
On
times.
a on a little bit more of a serious note, you say that you love teaching. You love that you get to inspire and mold
Mhm.
and encourage the next generation of students. Why is that so important to you?
Because it was done to me. I had teachers that I've come across, or even my dad's colleagues that I would spend some time with that were very inspiring. Um, I know that I came from a family that is two family home. We played sports, we did all these things, but also knew my family had struggles. We had deaths in the family. We had money issues at times. I know everybody has a story. I learned differently from my brother. It came to him a lot easier. I struggled a little bit. They thought I needed like an IEP and a 5-4. And at the end of the day, I was being lazy, right? Um, and they found the way that I learned was different from the way that my brother learned. So I like to share that story with parents that have students that are struggling, that I like to inspire them and say, it's okay. It's okay to get your child help. Your child does not have to be the top of the class and you still can succeed. I would have never thought I would go to UCLA. That was like my dream was Stanford and like I said, Laverne, but I knew my grades weren't like straight A's. I was a solid B student, but not in a million years I would have thought that I would have been able to be a graduate of UCLA and graduate top of my class and excel in that realm. Just I try to share my story with I just shared actually the story earlier with a parent. I had an SST, which is a student success team meeting with a student that's struggling over at Whitney. And I was trying to motivate and inspire the student and the parent in that meeting saying, you're going to be okay. You'll be fine, but you have to put in the work, you know? Um, so yeah, sorry if I'm being wordy.
No, not at all. Okay. And then one final question, which I always ask at the end of every interview. This one's a little bit of a tough one, but
Mhm.
if you had to sum up into a single word, what is the most important thing in life to you? It can be a person, a value, an object.
Just be one word though.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships. Relationships are everything. I tell students at school every day when there's a student that has a conflict with anything or makes a bad decision or has questions or concerns, I say, I hate my teacher's like me. Relationships, building relationships is huge because you never know how these people are going to play a role in your life later. We have many teachers, even at Whitney, that were students at Whitney that are now teachers at Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers that are at Whitney now, some of the teachers are still at Whitney, were their teachers at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing that relationship, if you had a great relationship with that person back in the day, and now you're their colleague, what if that
Mm-hmm.
relationship was broken back in the day? Maybe you had a bad relationship with that teacher. Now you have to work with that person. I tell kids all the time, I said, you're in a class of your peers are going to be the next doctors, the next lawyers, or the next CEOs, and you just might apply to a job underneath that person, or they're on your interview panel.
Mm-hmm.
If you build good relationships, you don't have to be best friends with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you build solid, pure relationships and you're a good person and they can speak to your character, it will go a long way. Because if I'm in an interview with you and or you're in an interview with your peer that you had an issue with, they may not remember what you said to them back then, but the peer side of you may remind them that of some pain or something that you went through. Then they may say, I don't know what it is, but I remember I had an issue with this person and I don't think they're a good person. I don't want to hire them or I don't want to work with them. And most times when I tell kids that, they're like, oh, I better say sorry to them. You're right. I may end up having to work with them one day, or they may want to hire me, or you're trying to get a job at their family's business. And they say, oh, didn't you go? Oh, I went to Whitney. My son went there. What is your name? And if there was a bad relationship that was created, it may hurt you in the long run. Relations to everything. Be a good person. Do the right thing when people aren't looking. I always tell them, even when someone's not looking, do the right thing because you just never know what you'll encounter later that may affect you in the long run.
Thank you for that.
Oh, well.
That about concludes our interview.